This is the crux of the whole issue, right? Is the fetus, is the thing inside of the mother's womb, is it a living human being? Because if abortion doesn't kill a human being, then no justification is necessary. But if it does kill a human being, then no justification is adequate, right? If it doesn't kill a human being, it doesn't matter. Do what you want. No justification necessary. If it does kill a human being, then there's no justification that's adequate. There's nothing good enough to make it okay. So, very simply, is the fetus alive? Is the zygote, to push it back to the point of conception, when the sperm and egg meet together and are fertilized and become the zygote, is the zygote alive? Honestly, this is a very simple question. Scientifically, it's basically inarguable, right? Dead things don't grow. Dead things don't replicate like the zygote does, especially growing as quickly as the zygote is growing. They don't. So, of course, the zygote is alive, right? If you were to look at this purely from a scientific standpoint, without the presuppositions and the debate things and the emotion on your mind, then it's really not a question. The zygote is, of course, a thing that is alive. The moment that it is fertilized, it becomes alive. Now, an objection to this would be to say something like, well, Renee, the sperm is alive. The egg is alive. That doesn't mean that you can't get rid of them. Which brings us to our second question, right? So is the zygote alive? Of course it is. By every definition, scientifically, the zygote is alive. The second question, maybe the more important one, is the zygote human? Is the zygote human? Well, it isn't a hamster, right? I mean, this is just as much so equally a simple question. It's almost like we turn our brains off when it comes to these sorts of questions that deal with abortion and other emotionally charged subjects, and we don't apply the basic sort of reasoning and logic that we would apply to other things. Of course it's human. It has human DNA, right? It is Homo sapien. What else is it if it is not human? Again, if you think about the question without the debate in mind, without the emotional chargedness, of course it's human. Of course it is Homo sapien. Of course having its own human DNA. Again, not the mother's DNA or the father's DNA, but its own individual DNA, its own individual genetic fingerprint. In fact, embryologists that study the field agree on this, that the zygote is a living and human being. It's an embryology textbook that Mike Winger points to, which I think is great. The textbook's called The Developing Human, Clinically Oriented Embryology. And that textbook says the zygote is the beginning of a new human being. Human development begins at fertilization. It says this highly specialized cell marks the beginning of each of us as a unique individual human being. Or David Boone, who's the author of A Defense of Abortion, says we are identical to the embryos and fetuses we once were. A human fetus is just a human at the very earliest stage of their development. So if you want to say it isn't human or it isn't alive, you can do that, but you're going against all the scientific evidence. You're going against all the scientific definitions of these things. Of course it's alive. Dead things don't grow. Of course it's human. What else would it be? It is Homo sapien. It has Homo sapien DNA. So if you want to say that, you're just going against all of science. Now, anyone who actually spends time studying this subject normally will grant that the zygote is alive and that the zygote is human. But they want to say that it's not the same as a post-birth human, which is an odd phrase, that it's not the same value as a post-birth human or as an adult human for a variety of reasons. Okay, so anyone who's spent some time studying this wants to think about it scientifically at all will say, yes, okay, the zygote is alive and the zygote is human after fertilization. In a way, the sperm and the egg are not, right? It is human and it is alive, but it's not the same value of human as a post-birth human or an adult human or whatever for a variety of reasons. And those reasons we're going to look at on Thursday. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.